Right, here we are. This one gets absolutely ridiculous. Some of the stuff that we get up to you couldn't possibly predict. But where did it all start? Well, it started with a question. What do expats living in southern China get up to at Chinese New Year? Well, I think you've got one of two choices. Gather together your Chinese friends and family and celebrate a traditional Chinese New Year with them, or gather together your ragtag mob of expats that you hang out with and celebrate with them. So that's what we did. We've got Big Heath, Jamie and Dima in that order. I'm bringing up the rear. Dima's a lovely chap from Eastern Europe. Jamie is an art teacher who you may have seen on previous videos. And Big Heath is, well, he's just Big Heath. I did ask Dima what was going on with the big blue crate on the back of his bike, and he pointed out that he had no idea because the bike belonged to Hunter of Standing on a Sea Urchin fame. And when he was asked, he just said it was camouflage to blend in with the locals. Kind of made sense. Anyway, our goal for today was brought to us by Big Heath there. He suggested we go and climb a mountain. White Horse Mountain, to be more specific. And that fits in very well because climbing a mountain is a traditional thing to do during Chinese New Year. Other things traditional to Chinese New Year are fireworks, lanterns and driving out in front of oncoming traffic. So we've got one checked. Let's see if we can squeeze the others in on today's adventure. And pretty soon, if I remember correctly on this ride, we're going to come across a big southern mountain. It's one of the first times I've ever clapped eyes on it, and it's a spectacle. The moment you see it, you just feel like it needs to be climbed. There it is, look at that. It is indeed large. It is indeed in the south. And I've climbed it a handful of times now, so if you want to see a video about that, perhaps you'd have to peruse my channel and maybe even hit the old subscribe button. But as it is, Big Heath and I were having our own personal Pikes Peak climb up the mountain. And when we came down the other side, we came across some fireworks, so you can check that one off your list as well. The guy was laying out another reel of fireworks. There's probably got to be over 1,000 firecrackers on there, and he set it off. Yeah, it's louder than you expect, and with the pops and crackles and bangs ringing in Chinese New Year and still ringing in our ears, we carried on our ride, because this is only about halfway to White Horse. Yeah, the fireworks are about scaring off the mythical beast Mien, a dragon that comes at this time of year and needs to be appeased. And here, look, we can check off the third thing on our list. Lanterns. Lots and lots of lanterns. And they do really spruce up the place. Very festive. And just like festivals back home, you know, you have a few extra chores to be getting on with. Perhaps you're going to get in some extra food, or bake some treats, or prepare some presents, or tidy your place. So there's always a lot of people out and about, getting up to whatever. And it creates a very fervent, busy atmosphere. A lot of fun to be involved with. Anyway, we picked our way through the traffic there and got back out on the open road. And pretty soon we'll be stumbling across the endless lanterns of White Horse Village. Here we are. And we have been here before for swimming and jumping into some pools. A lot of fun. But today we're going to pick a different route out the back of the village. We found ourselves on this little country road, bending and winding through the pine forests, eventually getting onto some rough track, which forked left and right. So I pulled over to have a chat with the lads to decide which way we were gonna go, but they just zoomed straight past. I was pretty confident it was the other way, so I just waited. and they eventually trickled back one at a time. So we did stop and have a little chat, and I explained I was pretty sure it was that way, the right-hand fork, so we took it and cruised on past these abandoned buildings and headed up. And we are 100% on track to meet our Chinese New Year goal of getting to the top of the mountain right now, and we would be if we'd pulled over here and gone up that path in front there. But I was having too much fun, so I just kept trundling away. And only hindsight lets me know that that's the path to take. As it was, we kept going up this steep, rubble-filled road, and our little 125s in first gear pretty much the whole time just kept bumping and banging and chugging away. It was really fun, and every corner you go round, every switchback turn or hairpin offered a different view, a different perspective, especially as we were climbing higher each time. Gotta love a road like this, a lot of fun. Yeah, these are pretty much designed to be little A to B machines, pootling around town, street bikes. But they coped admirably on this road. Really, if you don't have a motorbike and don't ride one, I can't recommend it enough. Really a lot of fun. And there's no need to get caught up in thinking that you need the biggest or fastest or most expensive bike. Even some pretty basic bikes can change your life. Like Jamie's 150 there, he said it was smelling pretty fragrant after the effort of getting up the hill. And it had been a right effort. So we stopped for a moment to consider our options and reflect on the road that we'd tackled. It had taken a lot of concentration and a lot of effort, physically on our part as well as the part of our machines. So we were quite happy to park them up, and we decided that following the storm drain there across the mountain until it ran into a path was the best course of action. And we were pretty happy to get into some gentle hiking. What we perhaps didn't realise is that the word gentle actually wasn't going to feature too much in our immediate future. But anyway, we called the drone in and set off. It was only after 100 or 200 metres or so that we realised there was a dead end and no path to be seen. So we picked this as an ingress into the jungle. It's a stream or creek bed, and this is about as gentle as the hiking got from here on in. And there were lots of clues lying around that was going to be the case. I mean, have a look at this spider's web. That is just ferocious. It was strung about 8 metres across the creek bed and made by some sort of spider I probably wouldn't want to run into. In fact, a few of the lads made a few noises expressing their doubts as to whether this was a good path to pick or not, and I responded in the most appropriate way, which is to give a non-committal, half-hearted which is just nondescript and doesn't say one way or the other, and then just carried on going up the creek there. There's lots of things to see and find, like that indestructible seed pod, and the views were interesting, but there was no path to find, so we did send up the drone on a fairly regular basis for a reconnaissance and to survey the path ahead. And as we got higher and higher, we couldn't help but notice that the sides of the creek were getting much steeper, and there was a lot of mountain still left to climb. There was a looming shadow growing that we may not be able to get to the peak of this mountain, especially so when we reached this little trickle of a waterfall, and standing at the pool at the bottom we realised we were fenced in by 3 sheer walls of rock. And no amount of thrusting would get us out of it, like this poor unfortunate moth here. So one last reconnaissance mission to prove that we either could or couldn't get over. And it looked like it wasn't too tall, that cliff, and there was plenty of vegetation on the sides that could help us climb up. And look, there's a pool of water at the top, so it must level off. Perhaps let's climb up and keep going. We might be right by the path. Who knows? Any minute now we could... Yeah, that was the end. When it became clear that there was another cliff, another wall of sheer rock right above where we were standing that was 4 or 5 times taller than the one we were stuck at currently, it was obvious that was the end of our hike. So we took a moment to really reflect on the, it must have been 4, 5 or 6 kilometres worth of scrambling we'd done. Not too far, but the effort had been not inconsiderable, and head back down. We did stop to refuel and have a snack, and with renewed vigour, we set off to the bikes, contemplating what our next move could be. Regular viewers will know that Whitehorse does have a trick or two up its sleeve, so we headed back for known territory, the plunge pools. Nothing better than stripping down to your skivvies and throwing yourself into the freezing cold water of a mountain stream. And we'd had a right day. We even found a little adventure on the way home with this ancient village that we stumbled across. And spirits were still high, so much so that we could lark around for a minute or two before we even went inside for a poke around. Sketchy brick village, I'm going to call this, and there was lots to have a little look at. You could easily imagine a big wok over a fire in that hole there, feeding a family on Chinese New Year in a more traditional fashion. But we felt that the struggles we'd overcome, the challenges we'd faced, the tasks we'd achieved, it bonded us on that day. It was just one day, but one day that had seen us turn from that ragtag group of expats into a group of friends. And what better way to celebrate Chinese New Year? Thinking back to where we first started off, it had been more than just a day, more than just a motorcycle adventure. Why not celebrate Chinese New Year the way you choose? 新年快乐!